Good morning. Oh man, what a day. What a day we are going to have. Can you guys see this? No, that one's gone. My little logo up here on the right, our social media. She's a graphic designer and she made a bunch of our all of our products unified our logos. I think they look pretty good. Oh man. So in the chat or in the description I was like we're not going to talk about the election today. And man, I searched for like an hour last night and today to try to find topics to discuss. And I didn't find shit. There's nothing to talk about that we haven't talked about. We can talk about Rogue a little bit. I don't know. Bukowski retiring. I didn't find anything. There's literally nothing on the internet except Joe Rogan podcast and Charlie Kirk memes. And so, anyways, it's gonna be a long day, but as my thing says a lot bit, go vote. It's important, especially if you're in the States. Everyone should vote, especially if you're in a swing state. Um, so from the bunker, Jody, what are you doing today? I like it, man. That'd be sick. What do you guys think? Should I do like a workout version of this podcast? I've thought of that, like doing like a lot, like just miking myself up and like working out while doing this. What do you guys think? Would be terrible. It probably would be terrible, but I've just thought about it in general, almost like a Twitch, right? Or like a live stream fitness thing, but for the morning show. I mean, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Hmm. This is an interesting question, Tim. So, how do we get an effective drug testing program for masters? I mean, I would say it's pretty fucking effective. No, I mean they caught two winners, right? I mean, isn't it the thing? So I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's doing its job, right? I feel like it did. Um, I feel like it did what it was supposed to do. Maybe not. Maybe do we want it to catch less people or more people? I'm not sure. Um, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's there. I mean, so it's the same exact testing process as CrossFit, right? Like they sponsored that. That's part of their um is it enough? So what's the question? Do we want to test more people down the stream that are there? Or are you saying we should be testing people out of competition? Is that the question? Because you said at the games, and at the games, all top 5 got tested in every age group. So, um, yeah. So maybe elaborate on that a little bit more. We want to test more down the line. I mean, hey, I understand that's the goal, or that would be ideal, but it does cost a lot of money. And so the Masters Games is definitely still being subsidized by CrossFit a lot, and it seems like it will continue to be subsidized by CrossFit for payouts or support, judging support, or like streaming support would be my guess, and probably drug testing. So yeah, I don't know. Hmm. Good morning. Good morning, Natalie. Athletic support. Yeah, sure. Same. Hmm. So we'll do our best to try to have a normal show, I think. I feel like we'll probably end up talking about it, but if we can avoid, we'll be good to go. It's hard, right? So, as I say this, with someone, this is the first time I'm voting with a family, and so just things are just they feel there's more weight, right? Like 2020, there was a lot of divide. Obviously, there is now. 2016, I didn't vote. So I mean, I haven't voted. I've been able to vote since 2008, right? Yeah, and I didn't vote till 2020. Um, so it's so strange, right? But it's definitely more of a weight now, and the importance of it, and how it affects my family, and things like that. Um, I think outside the comp, as it seems easy to beat tests if you know what you're doing. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's sorry, my wife is heading to. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a cynic when it comes to he's definitely a cynic when it comes to drug usage, but I think, this is just this is a super high cost, right? This is like a really expensive thing to try to get um to try to get into into play. And so, ooh, excuse me. And so he predicted a couple people. But I think finding them at the games is pretty good. I think it's definitely a good start. It stinks is what it is, but the more people they catch in big competition, the more nervous people will be and the less they will do it, right? You know? Um, I don't know. Sean just doesn't I guess doesn't know how to fucking take drugs and lie about it. How do you get caught twice? Like, don't do what you did last time. Just fucking lie better. Come off earlier. I don't know, whatever it is. What a fucking idiot. I mean, no one likes a cheater, but like if you're gonna do it, like do it right. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ. Like it's hard to get caught. Like you gotta really fuck up. Yeah. That's probably true. Did you see him um uh he went against God, what was his name? That teen athlete when they did the open announcement. I can't think of his name. I can see his face. Whoever it was in the comment, the teen athletes comment because Sean won by like only a couple reps, whatever the workout was, and the teen athlete commented and he said, "Does this mean I won?" And Sean like blasted him, take back all my positive things I said about you and all the advice I gave you and blah blah blah. I was like, wow, what a little bitch. Just like Jesus, dude. All right. I don't remember who said it. It was Dave Lipson. This is dumb, right? Like there's no way to regulate this in general. They do currently regulate this, and this happens, by the way, in probably a lot of masters. You take TRT, but you take a low enough dose that you don't alter estrogen um, impacts, and you stay under certain levels. This is what pretty much all professional athletes do. Okay, they take um, exogenous testosterone in low dose. Just think if you were able to maintain, so I think it's like 1200 is like the legal or like the normal limits within sports or whatever it might be, right? Something like that. If you can take a dose that keeps you in the 1000, 1100, 1150 all the time, do you not think that you'll be more muscular, be more recovered, have more energy, be more fit, be more strong, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? You would 100%. And you can't really define or um, you can't separate the fact that what they're doing, they just don't have a high natural testosterone level. right? So it's easy to do this, and it's what a lot of professional athletes do, especially in football. Like probably the entire NFL does this, and basically they just take enough to stay within the limits, but it keeps them at the upper limits, right? Just if you could be at the upper limits for your entire life, dude, are you kidding me? That would just be, I mean, you would just have such an advantage all the time. Such an advantage. Hmm. All right. So what do we talk about today? Hmm? Steroids? We can keep talking about steroids. It's not a terrible thing. One fantasy. Let's go. I'm still in sixth though. This is sad. I have the second most points scored. This is true. At least Masters is legitimized now that they have their own steroid scandal. Steroid scandals are always fun. Um, but I think good morning, Aaron. I think like looking at like where the Masters is sitting relative to the wild wild west CrossFit that we're in right now. Um, I think they're in a good spot. I wonder if they are. This is what I'm really interested in is like we're hearing all this change about the season in general, but I wonder what that's gonna change for the Masters season. Like, is it not gonna be 25% anymore? Is it gonna go back to 10%? I mean, it's interesting. We hear all this season talk, and for WOD prep, right? It's important, right? We always want to know, but we don't coach any professional athletes. We have a couple that might make a semifinal, but for the most part, it's just masters. And so that affects us more than anything. So I wish we would know literally anything about the master season, but no one talks about it. So mm, not yet. That's right. Not yet. Not yet. We're getting there for sure. We're getting there. Um, but what I've come to learn in this world, in this CrossFit world, is that almost like you have to have money to make money, right? And so for programming, you have to either have a really big name and been successful and then start a program, because that obviously means that you have any idea how to program, which for other people, which is not true, right? And this isn't running anyone through the mud. This is just not the case, right? There's plenty of Hall of Fame athletes that couldn't coach if their fucking life depended on it. Okay. In any sport, all the sports. And so the commonality or the common theme is that you either have to be famous and have done really well in the sport, have a bunch of titles after your name, okay, or somehow acquired an athlete that was really good. Very few people are coaching an athlete from start to finish, okay? Um, Emma Lawson is an example with whatever that training plan is called. Gorilla? No. Silverback? I don't know. Something animal. I can't think of the name of it. That's an example, right? I think you have people at TTT that have worked their way up, right? Noah was already very good when he got there. Travis was already a games athlete. Alexis is a good example, but Alexis was a teen athlete, right? So like her potential was always there. Mammoth. Thank you, Gorilla Mind. Yeah, Mammoth. I was close, right? Like a burly, big animal. And so the problem is it's just about reputation, or it perceived reputation. It's not about what you're actually able to bring. I don't know, is James didn't James make, but they were before they got to Brute, they were already very good, right? I don't think they were at Brute when they were at it. I think they got to Brute once they were already successful in the teen division. Am I wrong? I could be wrong, right? And I'm not saying that Brute's not like, there's no famous athletes there at Brute, right? But those athletes were destined to be extremely good, right? And now they're the best, right? And I'm not saying that hit their ability to go from a teen athlete to like top of the podium. I'm not um saying it's there, but those athletes, they got there somehow, right? And it seemed like they were destined to be good. They weren't terrible. And, he didn't bring them up from like teaching them how to snatch. Haley was already a regional qualifier when she went to Mayhem. She moved to Mayhem. Yeah, shut the fuck up. Ben and Matt. Um, so, and Taylor's a great example, right? Taylor is creating this huge cult-like following in this Savon world because of, is this program great? Seems like it's really good. It seems like it's really traditional CrossFit, right? And he obviously is very pro for it, but his viewpoints on the world and life and like his ability to be a really successful athlete is what's driving that program, right? So, anyways, going back to it, right? It's really hard to break into this high competitive world unless you have an in, right? You can't get there on you know the fact that maybe we know more about programming and we don't. Everyone programs so similar, right? Like I see a lot of programs and it's crazy how many of us are doing very 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 similar things throughout the season, right? It's just part of the game. And so anyways, it's just a hard thing to get through and we've kind of realized that. I really wanted to make that push and I really wanted to find a way to get there, and even if we did, I don't think it's really possible for us to move that needle. Also, unless they're already a games athlete making a lot of money, right? Then most of these athletes don't make fucking any money and you're coaching for free. And we're just not in the ballpark of like giving out our product for free. It's just not the game, right? We're trying, we want to be successful, we want to do our thing, but we have to make money. We have families, etc. So um sorry, my wife is texting me. And I don't even know what we're talking about. So, anyhow, maybe one day get a couple athletes that make it through. Um, but I think taking someone from never making a semifinal, right, to making a semifinal to the games is very rare, right? And your is a pretty rare feat, right? If you've worked with them the entire length of um their career like that, from novice to potentially professional. That's all I was saying. Yeah, this is just a good question. Why does it seem like there's such a gap between your average affiliate goer and diehard games fans? Seems like people either know everything about the games or they have no idea about any of it. Hmm, that's an interesting one. Hmm. I think that's probably with the fact that there are two spectrums of why people do this. Unlike football, right? So when people who watch football, they know all about their team because it's what they really enjoy, it's what they do, and there's really no like you have like people that are like very very good, but you can name your quarterback, you can name their record, you could if you beat your rival that year or whatever it is, right? Or you just don't watch it, right? And so I think it's very similar um in that aspect, that like people do CrossFit just for the fitness aspect and they have no desire to understand or know the competitive landscape at all. And then other people, probably the same people who enjoy watching sports, usually will like to follow the sport aspect of it. I think that's it, you know? Um, but I mean, that would make sense to me, right? Because CrossFit, while it's a brand and it's this sport, it's also just a fitness activity, right? Whole class versus competition, right? Sport versus GPP, right? I think that same divide of um, like ideology, right? And goal of doing this activity is the same divide of people knowing the sport and not knowing the sport would be my guess. But I don't know. Actually, I do know. That's probably a pretty good guess. I feel pretty confident that that's exactly what it is. What's up, Slater? It's really close to me this morning. Mhm. Mm. So what else? Oh, I'm training, which is a new thing. So we have our new phase, fire breather. If you guys are looking for a training cycle, make sure to head over to Watt Prep Programming, wattprep.com/training. Join our new phase. We'd love for you to join. 7-day free trial. Okay. Um, uh, but me and Orlando, which is one of our coaches, we are doing kind of like a modified version. So we have a compete track. Um, Maggie's one of our one-on-one athletes. That's good. We don't want to die during training, but we want to get really close pretty much every time. That's good. Um, and so we have a compete track, we have an RX track, we have a master's track, and then we have like an intermediate where athletes like still learning gymnastics and newer to the sport. And we have a classic, which is like our 60. Um, with 60 is still too long for me. I can't do it. It's just too long. I can't train for that long every day. So, and I don't need to do high level gym. I can't do high level gymnastics, et cetera, et cetera. So Orlando is put together like a 45-minute piece. And so yesterday I had some snatch complex work. And then I had 2 AMRAPs. I had a 10-minute AMRAP, 8 dumbbell thrusters, 24 double unders, 16 cal on the ski erg. And then Orlando overestimated my fitness. And here was every 2 rounds on the every 230. And it was 12 hang clean and jerks at 95 to 135 and 12 calories on the assault bike. We had to do 2 rounds of that in 230. And I was like, well, I can't do that. I know I can't. I even did 95 pounds. 12 clean hang clean and jerks is such a long pattern, right? Like it's a very slow movement. Even if you're cycling really fast, it's still like over 2 seconds, over 2 seconds a rep, right? So I was like, well, let me see how long one round takes. So I did 12 and 12, and it took me at like a pretty moderate tick, um, 35 seconds for hang clean and jerks, 5-second transition, 50 seconds on the bike. So like 65, 67 RPMs. It was like 130. I was like, well, I definitely wouldn't have finished 2 rounds. And I was like, I'm just going to do 1 round on the 230 times 3 because it was an AMRAP like till you fail, like till you can't do 2 rounds in 230. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I could have done like 2 rounds in 230 as like an all out sprint. And then I texted him and I was like, man, dude, I wasn't even close on this. And I was like, where was your mind at? And he goes, oh, it was supposed to be hang cleans. And I was like, motherfucker, man. I was like, shit, because I might have been able to do hang cleans. I mean, that literally takes out almost 1.5 seconds a rep. Um, and then I think it would have been fine. Then I don't think it would have been that hard. And I think I would have made it. Anyways, so I did 3 rounds, about 130 ish. I don't like cycling clean and jerks too much that are heavy. I don't like the bar crashing repetitively on like in my front rack. Um, so I try not to do too much, um, like heavy, even like power clean singles or like fast singles or high volume clean work. I'd rather do high volume snatch work. I don't know. I just get super paranoid. But anyway, so that was that yesterday. And then today we're doing a sumo deadlift cycle. Well, sort of a sumo deadlift cycle. One week is going to be sumo deadlifts for load, and the next week is like high volume, heavy deads, and then some like hinge upper body pulling work. And then I have every 7 minutes for 3 rounds, 30 cal biker, 20 pull-ups, and then 10 dumbbell box step overs. And so we should have for time. So simple for me. It's good because I don't have to warm up a lot, right? When you never work, whoops, when you never work over 80% of your like normal maxes ever, like as your new 1 RMs, then everything is just easy. You can just kind of hop in and do whatever you want pretty much at all times swiftly. So it's kind of nice. So we'll see how long I actually do this for. Hopefully I do it for the entire phase. I'd like to work out 5 days a week for 45 minutes to an hour. That'd be pretty sweet. Or 30 minutes to 45 minutes. We'll go with that. So that's what it is. And then so it's just a kind of like a shorter variant from our current cycle. Anyways, what's everyone else's training look like? What's .com today? Let's see. Nelson is Maggie's coach. So Maggie's one of our one-on-one athletes at Watt Prep. All right, here we go. What do we got? 20-minute AMRAP, 20 burpees, 20 air squats, 20 box jump overs, 20 air squats, 20 toes to bar. Long, easy movements. Jody, is that what you're doing today? Very nice. A single round in 5 minutes or less. So they want 4 rounds. Let's see. Minute 20, 2 minutes, a minute, 3 minutes. Yeah, something like that. Jody, are you asking about the coach? Is this what you're asking about? I assume. You're good. It was a good workout. It's a good one. Let's see. Let's see what the WOD Prep free workout is today. Hopefully it's up. Haha. That was embarrassing last time. WOD Prep training. Yep, here we go. Short, quick, to the point. Double knot. Nelson likes to name workouts. EMOM 10, minute 1 is 3 front squats, building towards a heavy triple. Minute 2 is 50 double unders. No, so it's remote coaching, right? So we write programming using True Coach. Maggie will perform it, video. She'll get daily feedback and daily communication from her coach. So it's not in-person coaching or like live. There's no live component to it. Yeah, so it's video feedback through True Coach, which is a programming app. What was yesterday's? 8 rounds. Oh, this is spicy as shit. 4 power snatches, 8 bar facing burpees. I think this was one of our actual tracks programs or pieces of program. 8 bar facing burpees, 12 cal row. That was a good one. This hurts. That's a painful workout. No, it's fully individualized. Yeah, it's fully individualized from Maggie or all of our one-on-one athletes. So your equipment, your needs, um, uh, your equipment, your needs, your time, your skill, your goals, competitions, travel, work, kids, etc. All the variables that people put into um, all the dependent variables that come up in daily life, nutrition, sleep, stress, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, is all taken into account for a program that's written for you. Okay. So you can do it in the bunker, as you say, right? It'll be written for all the equipment, et cetera. But no, it's never the free workout. I say never. Like we write a lot of workouts, right? And so sometimes like, oh, this workout would fit really well for whatever your thing is, but we're never copy and pasting program ever. So it's all fully individualized for our one-on-one coaching. So it doesn't look like the fire breather track or any of our other tracks. Um, it's always individualized. If you're interested, Jody, just email me, cj@wadprep.com. I'd love to chat more with you about it. Did I get a new media person? No. Oh, did we fire her because she didn't put up the stuff? No, absolutely not. No way. We would be lost without her. So show is the best. Even though she's up and in Scotland, but she doesn't watch the show. No, not a chance. This is a good question, Camille, because now I can rant. So, do I think more athletes will follow suit and retire before the new season, like Brent? Brent retired solely to work with the PFAA, and um, and so she's been with us for like I don't know longer than I've been with the company, like 9 years. Um, we also get like 12 likes on these posts, right? This isn't our main page, so. Um, Do I think more athletes will follow suit and retire for the new season like Fikowski? No, absolutely not. I think Fikowski retired on a power trip. Um, to be honest, I think there, like disagreements or whatever there, but I do think he really wants to just do the PFAA thing. That's what he wants to do. He won't make any money and he'll lose all his sponsors. And he's obviously financially in a position to do so. So, no, I don't think this is their job, right? So unless you've been on the podium, um, and you've made a lot of money and you've been smart with your money, you don't get to retire. You don't get to just stop working because they can't do anything else, right? Brent, he has the professor project, so that's residual income. Um, like that's continuous and he's still going to keep doing that. I assume that makes him, some money per month. I can't imagine it's a ton. He doesn't push it really hard. He probably should though. That should be all over his Instagram. I don't know why he does it. Why he doesn't. And so he has ways to make money, but a lot of these athletes don't, right? Like unless they run a camp or whatever, they can't. There just isn't. Yeah, he's an accountant. He's obviously super smart, and yeah, I mean, he this was very calculated in general, right? This wasn't like a knee jerk reaction to Dave not getting fired or whatever, right? I mean, some people that might be the case for some people, right? Or they might think that's the case for some, but if it is or if it isn't, it doesn't matter, right? But no one else is gonna follow suit. The only people that could follow suit are athletes that have been super successful in the sport and have money, but no one's not going to compete. No one's not going to compete. This whole, like what's the CrossFit world going to look like if Dave is still here? It's going to look exactly the fucking same, right? They're going to change the season again, do whatever they want to do with it to make it more profitable. Someone's going to end up buying it, and then we're going to revert back to ways of the past. And that's how I foresee it happening, right? Like someone will end up buying this. PE will get out and we'll start to revert back to more media, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is just going to be a general cycle that we're going through, but no other athletes are going to leave at the CrossFit Games. The same, you know, 28 with 12 rookies is going to be there. No, I think this is it because you have to train a certain intensity, and it was pretty clear because I watch his like overview videos for the professor project. It was pretty clear that all of his training, like his specific training, won't be competitive at all, right? So I mean, maybe if he gets invited to like Legends or something like that, but I don't think he does any big competitions anymore. Um, because he said like the professor project is basically like do what Brent does, sort of like what's Rich doing. But he says now he'll be able to actually write it for the people doing it and not himself. Right. So I think there's probably a balance point there of he'll still train, but he's not going to train competitively at all anymore. Um, he said that he wants to be in and out of the gym in under 60 minutes. Right. So I think yeah, I think that's it. I think this will be it for Brent Fikowski, which is fine. I thought Brent was a great ambassador to the sport. Um, and yeah, I hope he can legitimize the PFAA and make it to something that is, oh, what's the word? I don't know. Um, like legitimate is probably not the right word. Valuable to the world, to the athletes, to CrossFit as a sport. Um, I think most sports should have some form of players union, right? But it's going to take time, and I think him being full time is very good for it. That was weird. My headphones connected randomly. Nope. All right. So, anyways, that's that. Cool. Hmm. What else? What else we got? Anything good? Anything important in the CrossFit world? Dolphins lost a close one again. Fucking A. They can't catch a W to save their life. It's very sad. That's all right. Hurricanes are good. Makes me happy. I have the weirdest shit pop on Instagram. Like the weirdest stuff. I don't even understand where some of it comes from. Like I follow like an investing page and then I'm pretty sure it was just like a vibrator that was on the page. I don't even know. No, they're fucking not. Not even remotely possible. You're nuts. They're lose to what? Isn't it Georgia Tech? We play Georgia Tech? What do you guys think about this CrossFit training page or like the CrossFit training YouTube? Why wouldn't they just keep it on the same YouTube channel and just like make like a um just like a sub channel inside of it? Oh yeah, Dolphins are probably gonna lose. I don't even know who they play. Oh, they'll play the Rams. We could beat the Rams. Like, why wouldn't I mean, it's good. I really like the stuff in here, right? I really enjoy the stuff in here, right? Like so far, I think it's really good. Looks quality. I like these longer form videos. I love long form video like this. What's up, Trish? Um, you know, when I'm like all dolled up and I do my hair and stuff, I think I could rock a scarf. But when I'm like bumming it, I don't think so. Um, I just like with 10,000 subscribers, right? Like CrossFit, wait, no, was there just like a CrossFit? Yeah, 1.76 million. Why wouldn't you just use this channel, right? Why wouldn't you just use this channel I don't even know what half the fucking words you say, Chris. Like Trish. Is that a thing? Should I look that up? I feel like if I look that up, something bad's gonna come up. So let's just do I? Of Charles Dickens? Oh, interesting. I get nice. I used to only like there was a point in time, even till recently, till the melon hats, these fucking way too expensive hats that I have become addicted to. So I mean, till like a year ago, I like put, even just to like work in the house, like I like did my hair every single day, like 100% every day. And I just recently stopped, like for like 7 years. Um, so but yeah, I like wearing nice clothes. Just don't have any reason to do it. I fucking sit in my house all day in this stupid chair. My hip is starting to hurt too. I always know when I've been working a lot because I get this like like greater troche, like bursitis type feeling in my hip. And so then for like a week or two, I have to basically go to standing or like get it like it's just like specifically, you know, 7 to 8 hours in this fucking chair. I'm a sedentary person, like 100%. I look at my watch numbers and 5,000 steps today. Even like that's like going to work out. Ugh, sucks. But um yeah, but I like to get nice. I like to put nice clothes on. Told my wife that I have to take her out on a date soon. Haven't been on a date in a while. I was like, we got to put on some nice clothes and go somewhere without Bennett for 5 seconds. No, Miami didn't lose. We beat the fuck out of Duke. Completely obliterated them. No, no, it's like it's not a posterior pain. It's very lateral and it's just from sitting. This has happened forever. I will never say these words. I hate saying these words. This happened in PT school 8 years ago too, right? So like it's not a thing. It's just the fact of like your life changes, not your body. I hate leaning into getting old sucks, right? It's not the way we should look at it. Our daily our daily normality is what changes, right? It has so much less to do with your age and so much more to do with the fact that, you know, your what you do on a daily basis generally changes. And usually it's because we relatively and progressively become more sedentary as we get older. Like we just don't go outside as much and play and go play sports or pick up basketball or flag football or whatever it is that you do. So I hate this. I hate saying this statement. I've coached 65-year-olds at the CrossFit games. I got 30 years before I can say I'm getting old. 31 years. I'm only 34. So um yeah. So I hate this. I can't do it. I can't do it. No one else should either. We in the CrossFit space have completely shit on this notion that getting old sucks or this thing or like, oh, it's just what happens when you age, blah blah blah. So mind blowing. Mind blowing, right? 20-minute walks. That's right. Way to fix your fucking statements later. I don't like being cold. No, I do. I can't say that. I am excited I have a solo stove, right? Like a little fire pit thing. I'm excited to get that going in the backyard. It's coming soon. I think after this, there's a rain. It's like going to rain all week. And we have no, I think like our last storm in the Gulf. So we might get a hurricane next weekend or this coming weekend. After that, though, it seems like the cold front's going to come through and we're going to be nice. We have a nice patio out back. It's like covered. It's got a TV and couch. We got a little like a propane fire pit. We got the big one. And I like spending time out there. Bennett's old enough that he can be out there and he's not gonna like fall off his little play jungle, like his little, I don't know, climbing thing, right? Or if he does, it's not a bit huge deal, right? I'm not worried that he's gonna die every 5 seconds. I say that and he was in the garage yesterday. They got that was they got home early because my wife is sick. And so I was working out and I was done and they woke up from their nap and he was playing in the garage and he got on the bench and the bench was like on an incline and so he was kind of like leaning on it like where the seat is, and then it was kind of like angled up, and he was kind of leaning on it. He missed his footing, and he kind of just like rolled off and fell. And of course, my blower, the garage blower, was like right there, and he fell like straight on his back. He's got a huge bruise on his tailbone, and I was like, oh my god. My wife was out of the garage for like 5 seconds, and he just like smashed it. I was like, fuck. He was fine. He's a champ. He cried for like 10 seconds, and I gave him a car, and he was like, Lightning McQueen. He was happy. Kids are amazing. Kids are amazing. It's so awesome. So awesome being a dad, man. I love it. I love it more and more every day. Oh, I got a good one. Don't tell my wife this in case you watch and you know her. So this was last night, not really last night, but the night before. So every night, 7 o'clock hits. Parent and Ben are usually like snuggled on the couch. And I'm like, all right, it's bath time. And I go get like all the bedtime stuff ready. I get his toothbrush and like lay out his clothes, et cetera, et cetera. I get the bath going and I come get him. He yells. Then we get in the bath and then we play. And then when we get out of the bath, I like get him ready for bed, right? I like put like he's got like a cough. So I put his chest rub on and brush his teeth and get him in his sleep sack and everything and comb his hair. And we start reading. Um, and so we were reading, and then usually mommy kind of gets ready for bed too, and she like brushed her teeth and stuff. Then she comes in there after a bit, and then he goes to her, and she puts him down. He didn't want to go to her last night. He was very upset that um that mommy was going to take him, and and I felt really bad. My wife was really really sad. She was really sad because like he's a mommy's boy. He wants his mommy 100% of the time, all the time. Runs around, mommy, 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 mommy. And it was like very clear that like wanted daddy to put him to bed. And I still handed him off because I couldn't do it. Like it'll gut her when he switches and becomes a daddy's boy. Like it'll gut her. And I was like, not today. We're not ready yet. I'm not ready for my wife to have that animosity towards me because my son chooses me. I can't handle it. Um, so anyways, it was funny. And then so we have this nighttime book. It's like just a bedtime storybook. We have a lot of them. He reads a lot of books. We have hundreds of books, and he loves all of them. He loves to sit and read, which is so cool. Um, and this one has like 5 Disney stories in it, right? Like Finding Nemo, Ratatouille, Up, Pixar, Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Incredibles. And so usually we read through Finding Nemo, and he like slaps the page and go back and forth, and he'll like look at the fish and say shark and Dory, etc. But last night we read through the entire book of all like 6 stories, and he just was on it, locked in, like sitting there with his Lovey and his little bear, his dog, and we like finished a story because they're like 6 or 7 pages, and then he was like, "Whoa!" And then more, and we go to the next one. Whoa, more. It was awesome. It was like it felt like he like grew up yesterday of like how well he sits to read a book. But he'll just like we have a little chair next to a bookshelf, and he'll just like pop in that's in the living room, and he'll just pop over there and like grab a book. He'll just sit and read by himself for 20 minutes. It's the coolest thing. So, anyways, he's a cool little kid. Makes me happy. So, all right. What else are we gonna talk about? What else is there to talk about? Anything else in the CrossFit space? I feel like my whole Instagram is finances right now. Not a lot of not a lot of politics on Instagram. I don't even have Facebook anymore. I can't. Too many boomers. What is SHBG? Is that somewhere in my screen? SHBG. Oh, like the protein? The sex hormone? Or it binds to sex? Is that what you're asking about? No, it's something that's way out of my that's like bio biochemistry and stuff like that. That's way out of my bit. Um, Sex hormone binding globulin is a glycoprotein that binds to androgens and estrogens. When produced by Sertoli cells in the seminiferous tubules of the testes, it is called androgen binding protein. Yeah. Hmm. Fun fact. SHGB. Yeah, I don't know much about it. That's out of my range. I can look it up. Um, let's see. What do we got here? Make sure there's nothing on my screen. Is that how is Trish? Is that I don't know. Is this something you supplement? Probably. So T3, which is your free testosterone, well, T3, and then it binds, that creates your free testosterone, down, bound. Oh, okay. A modulator to be modulated. Huh. All right. This looks confusing. Let's see. Nope, no, it's definitely confusing. Nope. Liver secretes SHGB, hormonal factors. So it affects a lot of shit. What it seems like: dietary lipids, metabolic factors, thyroid hormones. Do you supplement it? What do you supplement? I assume you're not actually supplementing SHGB. Probably some form of like glucosteroid or something like that, right? Yeah. So hormone balancer is what it seems like. Hmm. Thorn has some weird ass shit. Hmm. I took this for a while. Helps improve free testosterone. I mean, I take all of this technically. So cool. I don't know. Trish, do you have a problem? Do you have like low or high SHGB? Where are you going, Maggie? Are you going to Scotland? Mm, nice. Make sure to send us some Scotland Road gear. Okay. It's going to be fun. I'm super excited to see like how big the crowd is. I think it's going to be whoa, Maggie, when is it? I'm a regular for a cent iced coffee protein powder. I'm a regular for this is the longest fucking name ever, Jody. Ascent, iced, coffee, protein, powder, drinker. Jesus Christ. I took Ascent for a while. I think our gym sold it. I don't know. Protein's protein, right? Like, if there's no sugars added, it's probably fine. Like this whole like ISO and leucine, has a good if it has a good BCAA profile, high leucine and isoleucine, it's fine. And I think they're all so similar. It doesn't matter. I'm not fucking paying $65 for 2 pounds of protein. I'm getting optimum nutrition, like the simple stuff, right? Like I'm trying to find 5 pounds for $60. I don't really care. As long as there's no sugar added or very little sugar added, then I don't really give a shit about it. Like I'm not, there's like so much nuance inside of protein stuff that I don't think really matters, right? Unless you're bodybuilding and you're counting carbs to the single, right? You're trying to cut or whatever it is, then I think that's the only time that it really matters at all, right? What's up, Sean? Glad you're here, buddy. Um, so yeah. Oh shit, I gotta show you guys. Oh, there we go. This is a good question, right? So I have tendonitis on the knee from double unders and overtraining. What's your opinion about handling mentally an injury that doesn't allow you to even do a squat properly? When it when we're talking about an injury, right? Um, what I try and do is I find the wins first, right? Like what can we do? Right? You can deadlift, you can row, you can bike. You might be able to do like power lifts. I'm not sure, right? Like tendonitis in the knee can kind of, if it's hurting in double unders, you're probably not gonna be able to like power clean, power snatch, but you can do pulls off the ground. You can do all posterior chain work, right? You can do all your gymnastics. You can do burpees, right? You can do all of your vertical upper body pulling and pushing, et cetera. So we find the wins, right? And so we can still train a ton. We can still train a lot, right? And so then once we establish that, then we can kind of like fill the void, right? Okay, I can still write a training plan that's going to be very challenging, that's going to fit that's going to fit the needs that you have. We'll still work on weaknesses, we'll still set fitness goals, etc. And so I try to do that as the first point of attack for someone in pain, right? Or someone struggling with like a limitation. Okay. And so then we'll talk about like what we need to modify, right? So we can't be dynamic, but you can squat. Okay. You should be doing wall sits, squat holds, tempo goblet squats, um, like pause squats, box squats, etc. Right? HSR, which is heavy slow resistance training, is good for tendonitis, right? If you have like patellar, I assume it's like patellar tendonitis, sensitive, like right under the patella, or femoral tendonitis, which is going to be sensitive to touch like right above the patella. Okay. Um, and so um and so we find the wins, write a training plan around that, and then continue to make sure that we're addressing and dosing the tendonitis, which is tendonitis is always a loading issue, right? Too much load too soon, or not enough load for too long, and then too much load too soon, right? Um, so basically, like if you're squatted 400 in the past and you took some time off and then you kind of hop back in using your same percentages, that would be like too little for too long, which in turn makes it too much too soon, or just too much too soon, right? Or just too much over time, right? Because tendons are just like loading mechanics, right? And so they get irritated if they're loaded too much too often without enough recovery, et cetera, et cetera. Let me see if I can find the um my continuum. Whoops. Nope. Nope. Mm, there we go. Haha. All right. So we can talk about um, tendinopathy stuff. Here we go. Cool. All right. Now we're getting nerdy. Okay. So this is called a tendinopathy continuum. And so in time or over the years, we believed tendinitis into like tendinosis were these two separate pathologies that sort of progressed into each other, but not really that they were separate, right? So it was initially tendinitis, which is like the more you do, the more it hurts. Then it goes into this tendinosis where it's really achy and painful when you're at rest, but once you warm up, it sort of just goes away. But it then like that achy sleep, like the movie theater knee or the driving knee, it comes in more and more and more, right? Lay down. Um, and so anyway, so what we learned through Jill Cook, who's a brilliant researcher in the PT world, okay, is that it's all one big continuum, okay? And so the goal of loading is to basically we have a normal tendon, we have an optimized load, it adapts, it strengthens, and then we get into this. This is called a negative feedback loop. Okay. So it kind of brings us back to baseline, and then it kind of will move us up, right? So, like our ability to tolerate more and more and more will be better and better. Okay. What happens is how we get tendinopathy is we have one of two ways, right? We get this unloaded, we unload the tendon for too long, which means we like regress. So we stop physical activity, and then we get what's called a stress shielded response. And that stress shielded response is basically our inability to tolerate what was deemed a normal stressor at some point in time. Okay. So, the squat example is you were running marathons when you're 20s and you stopped running. And then in your 30s, you started running again and you ran a little bit less, but all of a sudden your knee started hurting with a lot less mileage. Well, you unloaded the tendon for X amount of time. I don't like the term use the term weak. It's not very fair. It just isn't going to tolerate the same amount of stress and load and activity and um, input as it did before. And so then we get this stress shielded response. And so they both come into this, right? And so we either get that or we get an excessive load individual factors, meaning we did too much too soon, right? So the tendon or tendinopathy or tendonitis, however you guys want to define it, it's all the same thing happens one of two ways: too little for too long, and then what was deemed normal is now deemed excessive, or too much too soon, which is just excessive. And then we start to get into this reactive tendon disrepair and then degenerative tendinopathy. And all this means is that reactive is what most people will define as tendonitis. The more you do, the more it hurts. Okay. But pretty much if you stop doing stuff, it calms down relatively quickly. Tendon disrepair and tendon degenerative or degenerative tendinopathy are more of when the tendon structure actually starts to change. Okay. And basically, so it's a tendon, it looks a lot like smooth muscle, which is just a bunch of striated lines. Okay. It kind of turns into a spider web, right? Or a cross sectional pattern. Sorry, or like a cross sectional pattern. And then once it's like this, when an electrical signal goes through it, it gets impeded, and that's the pain that we feel. So that's what tendon disrepair is. And then degenerative is just the same thing, but on a bigger scale. Okay. So what do we do? How do we fix it? Well, once it's here, we don't technically fix it. It will always look like this. But what it does do, what heavy, slow resistance training does do, is it gets new tendon to lay down. So while the body is adapting to these new tendon structures, okay, it will adapt and the pain will go away. It will just take a long time. We're getting new tendon to kind of lay on top of it so that we're improved and it's there, right? And so that's why you see a lot of people talk about like Achilles thickening. People have had a lot of Achilles tendonitis, that Achilles tendon gets a lot thicker. And that's because there's new tendon laying down, scar tissue is laying down, which isn't a bad thing. That's a good thing. We need that to happen so that we can start to function normal again. Okay. All right. So what do we do for the mental aspects? We find ways to keep training that doesn't affect it. And we make sure that our training specifically for whatever is injured is very, um, structured and moving that needle, right? And so for tendonitis, and Kyle, this is for you as well. Um, uh, Avoiding the dynamics and plyometrics, running, jumping, dynamic powers, catching, power snatches, power cleans, etc., jerks, where we're catching in that like 10 to 30-degree knee flexion, which is, I assume, where your most pain is. Nectarious. Uh, we want to make sure we're loading it daily. We just load it slow and controlled and build the load there, right? The dynamics and plyometrics come later, right? And so that's like where that tendon is going to be most irritable, is in those dynamic patterns. So we want to make sure we're still addressing it daily, consistently. So we're getting that new tendon to lay down effectively and quickly. But once tendonitis is in, it's going to be there for a while, right? So you have to set your expectations well as we look at trends, not pain for the day, right? So you're going to have pain during these things for a while, right? But if it's trending down generally over time, then that's good. If it's trending up, then you're doing too much. Okay. Kyle, how can I strengthen shins and feet not to hurt as bad when running long distance? Also, is runner's knee caused by poor form or just overuse? Probably a mix of all the things. How can I strengthen my shins and feet? Post like anterior tib work. I like anterior tib work. You getting like shin splints, I'm guessing is what you're referencing. Um, so usually shin splints are specific load issue in the bone. Okay. So the bone is not accepting how much dynamic load that you're putting on it, right? That's why most people that get shin splints are athletes coming from no training all summer and then into preseason, and then they get the shin splint kind of thing. Or when you started to up your running volume. Okay. So shin splints, a good way to avoid them or get rid of them, are losing weight and modifying run volume. That's really it, right? You can do tib anterior work like the tib bar from what's his name, knees over toes guy. That stuff is fine. I like to do a lot of calf raises. I like to do a lot of like barefoot, like daily stuff um, in general. Uh, and And so I think that's a good starting point, right? But I love calf raises. I love like intrinsic footwork, right? So like getting a towel and trying to bunch it up with your feet, straighten it out, bunch it up with your feet, or do like, and I don't like to dig at it or roll it. It's already really sensitive. So if you're gonna like foam roll or ice cup or whatever, I don't think those are really good ways to go about it. Runner's knee, um, similar to what Nectarius is talking about, right? It could be poor form, probably not, especially if you've ran in earlier aspects of your life, um, and you didn't have runner's knee, then it probably isn't a form thing, unless somehow, some reason you gained a ton of weight recently, or completely changed your running technique, right? Um, we can always look at running form and make it better, but there's plenty of people that are excellent runners that have runner's knee, right? I mean, it's just part of the game. So usually it's volume thing. I don't like to use the term overuse, just volume, right? Like your body is not tolerating the amount of volume you're putting on it. So how do we adjust that? Adjust the volume, increase strength training around the area, limit plyometric dynamic inputs, and then kind of start back over. Um, if I want to be able to pin my ankles behind my ears, what stretches should I do? Isn't your husband's name Ron? Just have Ron do it. I think Ron, like I think that'll be a good start. Um, there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed our TED Talk on tendonitis for the day. This is for everything, by the way. Like this is pretty much the general concept for all pathology, unless you have like a traumatic injury, right? We say this is tendon, but I mean, like if you have shoulder pain, this is all what it is. We either tolerate or don't tolerate the input that we're giving it. And so we have to modify the amount of input and stress that we're giving a region, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, it's rehab. Pain is extremely complex. Rehab is wildly simple. Okay. And so rehab is just finding what the patient or the athlete can tolerate, starting there, and then building back to the goal, right? That's it. If we can do that, graded exposure, then we're going to be really, really successful um, in our rehab. So let me see if I can find our little like step. So this is a good one. So I would love for you to do a video series on marathon training if enough people seem to be interested. So um I don't know. I mean, I can program for a marathon, but as far as what it is, right? So a great, point to kind of like anchor in what I was saying, which is increase a ton of volume, right? So um so this is it's simple, right? What I tell everyone that's like in distance training that's struggling with whatever is you need to cut your training in half and you need to be have a slower build. That's it. That's all you need to do. Slower build, add some strength training in it, and then you'll be fine. So, um, and it'll just take time, right? Like the challenge with like running a program that's probably a templated program that's not written for you is that it's assumed that you're just going to check the boxes and move the needle progressively and tolerate whatever the written program is, right? And there's obviously a lot of inherent problems with template programming, even our template programming, right? Um, what's happening in the chat over here? Um, uh, and so you have to be able to make the decision that, okay, it went from, you know, uh-oh, it went from 15 miles this week to 20 miles the next week, but you didn't tolerate the 15. So you either need to repeat the week or regress and go backwards. Right. And I know you're probably on a certain schedule to peak for the marathon or whatever, but if you're not tolerating it, you're not tolerating it. And so it doesn't matter. Um, Jody, so I've had some wild elbow tendinitises in the year, like in the years, like over my training years before CrossFit, etc. What I do and what's helped me the most is um, is a gripper. So go to Amazon, get the cheap adjustable gripper, right? So something like this. Share screen. So something like this. Okay. It's a two piece. You keep one in your car, you keep one at the gym or in the house. All right. And so what you do is, oh, Bennett's waking up. What you do is you put it on low. And if you email me, I'll send you the video. Basically, we do grip training every day. So do I have one in here? No, I always have one. And this is like my little like secret. Well, here we go. So this is a really heavy one. Okay, this is a two. I can't even squeeze this. So um but you get that, you put it on low, okay, and you squeeze in different angles, right? So you squeeze with your arm bent, squeeze with your arm straight, squeeze with um, like arm overhead, etc. So you mimic where we would have normal grip stuff. And then what we do is you basically grab it and you pin it, okay? And then you move through those ranges of motion. And that's where you're going to feel it. Okay? That's why picking up the plate is more like a curl. It's controlled, it's concentric, there's no dynamics. But on a clean, like if you were to upright row that clean with a lighter barbell, it would hurt because when you do a clean, when the arm starts to bend, it's weightless. So there isn't actually a muscle contraction at the elbow happening. Okay. So that's why you don't feel the pain, right? But get a gripper, Okay. Um, put it on low, go through squeezes. If you email me, I'll send you kind of like I have like a 2-minute movement video, like a 2-minute movement video of like what to do and how to use the gripper if you email me, cj@wadprep.com. Okay. Buy it. It's what's helped me the most. And then add in like forearm work, right? And curls, tricep extensions. You got to get into some bodybuilding there. That's what helps prevent that elbow tendonitis. This is interesting. So, is losing weight too fast while trying to train for a marathon dangerous? I mean, it depends on how much weight we're losing, right? So your calorie expenditure is probably substantially higher. Um, and we probably don't want to lose too much weight, right? I wouldn't ever go into a performance bias training program with the goal of losing weight for that, right? Like using running to lose weight is one thing, but using running to lose weight while training for a marathon is probably a recipe for disaster, right? Um, so I would mitigate any excessive weight loss over how long, right? That's like there's a lot. That's a spectrum, right? Like you're gonna lose if you're not doing a ton, and now you're adding in 20 to 50 miles a week of training and running, then you're probably going to lose some weight, and that's okay, right? You just need to adjust your caloric intake for that. But um, but I wouldn't say like if you weigh 250 pounds and you're training for a marathon, you should do the marathon at 150 pounds. Like that's probably going to be really not ideal. Sean, this is an interesting one. I had tendonitis in my elbow when I was younger, and I can flat bench dumbbells as heavy as I wanted, but it hurt to, or I but it hurt to flat bench an empty bar. That's just most likely an angle thing, right? And that's why I was talking about the gripper. Different angles makes the difference, right? Like some people feel fine here, but if you internally rotate or pronate the hand, it is gonna address that like medial epicondylitis or lateral epicondylitis, wherever your pain was, pinky side or thumb side, elbow differently, right? So usually the torque on the bar to pin the elbows in, um, and like that power bench pressing pattern, um, which is like using the lats, squeezing the bar, trying to break that bar is it ranks on the elbow and it creates a rotational effect and a rotational component. That was what probably was irritating the elbow. Like if you went like narrow grip and relaxed, right, it probably wouldn't have hurt, right? Or if you went like maybe super wide or something like that, I bet you could have found like, or if you had like a what is it called, like a like a or multi grip, like a multi grip bar, multi grip bench press bar. Is that what it's called? A multi grip, right? Yeah, like a multi grip bar. I bet it wouldn't have hurt either, right? Like if you could go neutral or something like that, I bet it wouldn't have hurt either. Then it's just that specific, probably hand width and elbow rank, right? Like trying to get that, like trying to break that bar, really get the lats involved, probably stress the elbow a lot, would be my guess. Yeah, it's good. I like those better. I might get one for the garage. I like to bench press, but bench pressing, I have two torn labrums. I tore each one, I don't know, years ago. And um and and so I love to bench. I'm terrible at it, like insanely bad. Um, but I enjoy it, but I can only bench press so often with dumbbells or bench like bar specifically, and I just start get super lit up and it just doesn't tolerate a certain amount. Um, it's better than it was, and it's just taken a long time, but it is what it is. Um, but I like a multi grip bar because it feels way better on the shoulders, and it's great to have different angles, right? Like who doesn't like having a different like if it hurts to bench press with your hands pronated, like if you could just angle them 10 degrees and it doesn't hurt at all, who fucking cares if you can bench press like with a straight bar anymore, right? So I'm never a fan of like full avoidance. Um, um, what's up, Craig? But if it allows you to go heavy and then you still kind of use like a flat bar or straight bar to warm up, I think it's solid. I think it's really, really good. But if I had to like give a different, like an overarching thought on like rehab, right? Is avoidance is a death sentence. If something hurts, find a similar pattern that is easier and less taxing that you can do and then build back to the goal, right? If you're in pain, ooh, um, if if you're in pain, right, you have a starting point and just work your way down, right? Like if squatting hurts, squat lighter. If that still hurts, reduce range of motion. If that still hurts, reduce more range of motion. If that still hurts, go to a goblet, change the squat style, right? Find something you can do. Just go to a sit to stand, go unweighted, sit in the bottom of a squat, do a wall sit, whatever it is, right? Find something that's in the same family of what you want to do and then slowly build your way back up. So, um yeah, never avoid. Never, never, never avoidance ever. Don't avoid running as you age because some fucking stupid doctor told you that running's bad for your knees. Okay. Don't avoid going overhead because some fucking surgeon told you that you don't need to put your arms over your head. Don't do that. Never avoidance. Avoidance is never the answer. Always bend over to put on your shoes, bend over to put on your pants. Never avoid flexing at the spine or rotating or any of that stuff. If the joint can do it, it was meant to do it. Okay. And the more you avoid it, the more it won't come back. Pretty Sleep is always really important. This is a good point, Trish. I never know if you're being like sarcastic or not, but this is a good talking point. I can't sleep anymore on my sides. My shoulders hurt. So this is like that tendonitis spectrum that we were talking about. This is sort of what we see when we get tendinopathic is that sleep pain. Okay. Um, uh, when we have that, we, usually it's some form of tendonitis or tendinopathy down the spectrum, right? And loading is going to help. So lateral raises, face pulls, pull aparts, like bent over flies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of the things that we still want to work there, but we have to be able to sleep. So we need to make adjustments, right? Like if we're not sleeping, we're not going to heal. So it's always really, really important. Um, Kyle, I've had people tell me the treadmill is terrible to run on. Is treadmill running good? All activity is good. If you can run outside, run outside. So we have three styles of running. Okay. We have ground running, which is where we propel ourselves forward. It's like running outside on the street or a trail. We have motorless treadmill running, which is like an air runner, which is you are pulling the ground under you behind you, right? So it's a hamstring bias bit. So you're stationary, you're pulling the ground behind you. Or we have motorized treadmill running, which is you are running up and down on a moving surface. So you are just you are not propelling yourself forward and you are not planting and you are not moving the ground behind you. You are just moving up and down. From a productive standpoint, motorized treadmill running is the least productive, okay, and will have the least carryover um uh to actual training and like muscular development in general, okay? Um if if we have options, treadmill running, motorized treadmill is always the last. We'll always do everything else first forever. If they never have to run on a motorized treadmill, then I won't. If it's the only option they have, then obviously it's fine, right? But Kyle, if you're training for a marathon, I wouldn't do motorized treadmill running. Usually the impact is just a little more since you're just kind of like bobbing up and down and you're not controlling your speed, it's controlling your speed for you. It usually is the most challenging to like get a lot of miles on, right? So I like assault runner. This is just more fatiguing, right? And so it's all different. It all creates a different feel. So keep that in mind. Assault runner fatigue is going to be way different than flat ground fatigue, right? This is Camille. Camille's been my athlete since 2018. Coach, you told me this in 2018, and I still refer to it. We do not accept fear and avoidance as an avenue of rehab and healing. We overcome and we move on, right? So all that means sounds very fortuitous or like, I don't know, intelligent. It's not. And all it means is that basically fear and avoidance will keep you where you are, right? Whatever your pain or injury is, we address it directly. We don't avoid the pattern, the movement, the concept, right? So, like, Camille struggles to sit in a car for a long period of time. And at one point, she told me that she wasn't sitting in a car, she wasn't driving and doing things because she couldn't sit in a car for more than 10 minutes. And so we're like, all right, well, we're going to start doing that, right? You're never just going to be able to get back in the car or sit for long periods of time without doing something to help move in that needle, right? If you want to bend over and touch your toes, but you're avoiding bending over and touching your toes because your back hurts, it never is just going to magically just be better. So we always use the pattern of infliction or the pattern of resistance to drive the rehab direction. Okay. And that's what we do here at WOD Prep. And in my practice, that's what I've done since the day I started treating. So, um, yeah, rehab is fun. It's mentally challenging and um, stressful, but it can be very easy. It doesn't have to be something super complicated. You don't have to have this super big special diagnosis or get x-rays or like get a fucking P wave or cupping or dry needling or any of that shit. You just need graded exposure. Find a pattern you can tolerate that's similar to the pattern you can't tolerate, and then slowly expose yourself to bigger and bigger stressors over time. Don't be afraid of pain. Work into low amounts of pain. It's fine, it's safe, and the body will adapt over time. The body is the best healing component that we have as long as you give it the right ingredients to make a good cake. Okay. So, anyways. All right. On that note, we're going to end it unless anyone has anything else. Anyone has any other questions, I gladly answer them. If not, I'm going to get Bennett to school and I'm going to go stand in line and vote, which all of you should do. It's very important. Okay. Very important. Most people do, Natalie. And what I've found is it has to do with your torso posture. For the longest time, most people have been told to keep their eyes up and their chest up when they run. And that's dumb. Okay. The lumbar it flexes and extends. Okay. And so if I were to tell you to flex your bicep and you flexed it hard for a minute, it would hurt, right? It would cramp. Well, when you run and you arch your back to keep your chest up, those lower paraspinals on the low part of your back are flexing and contracting isometrically. So I want you to think of pulling your ribs down, taking your gaze from up to down to 10 feet in front of you. Okay. And try to relax your belly. Okay. Try not to arch your back. Try to keep the ribs down and relax that low back. Okay. Don't try to pull your chest up. Right. If you do that and you kind of relax that back a little bit, I promise the back will start to ease up over time. Okay. Um, and then we can go into things like pose running, which is like striking under your center of gravity and not heel striking in front of you, right? So when your feet hit the ground, they should be hitting directly under you and not way out in front of you. Okay. And that's going to help you lean forward a little bit. So, all right, go vote. We'll be back. Head over. I think Savon and the Clinton girls might be on all day talking stuff. So, yep. Don't take it for granted, no matter what side you're on. The other side wants to think you're winning. So shut your mouth, Sean. All right. I'll see you guys later. Adios.